Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm here today with my friend Dan. We're gonna have a fun little collaboration video and discuss a few little topics and have some fun. Let's get to it. Okay, so we're back. I'm here with my friend Dan. Dan, so thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Dan's a videographer with an extensive background in computers and IT as well. We're gonna ask some questions, do some back and forth, and have some fun today. So I guess the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to have Dan let everyone know how he got into videography, his current role.
Film and videography has always been a passion of mine. Back in the day, I was, for many years, I was doing IT, basically to pay the bills, right? But, I was doing videography and filmmaking of shorts and different projects and things like that, just as a hobby. But I got to a point where it's like, you know what? I think I really kind of need to be doing what I'm really passionate about, and I made the career change. So, I still love computers and technology and all that sort of thing, but this is obviously what I'm very passionate about. And, like they say, when you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started my own videography business, Convergence Media. We'll have some links in the description below.
Absolutely.
And you can check out my website, my Instagram, Facebook, for all kinds of services for, a small business promotion, real estate, if you're looking to sell real estate listing, tourism, anything, your business or yourself personally may be looking to promote. I mean, nothing has a bigger impact than professionally made video, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
As Dan said, there'll be links in the description below with all of the social media accounts. I encourage everyone to go check them out and give them a like and a follow. It'd be fantastic. So from there, I guess, thank you very much, Dan. Kind of goes along with my story a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually didn't enjoy computers so much until I had to use them in college. Once I took electronic technology in college, we had to use them every day, and it really blossomed from there. And then video games. Between computer games in college as well too. We played a lot of computer games in our spare time. So it really blossomed from there. And then I started my own home business back in around 2002, doing computer service and repair. And then I eventually purchased this business in 2015. So that's my history coming along. And again, to say that I hated computers in high school and before that, I think it's come a long way from there. Outside of the videography and the computers, let's talk about some hobbies.
Yeah.
What are some of the hobbies that you have, Dan?
Oh, well, you mentioned video games, and I know that yourself, you're a big fan of retro gaming.
Yes.
And old consoles and things like that. I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff too. I love modern gaming as well. But yeah, I'm a huge gamer. For sure, old and new. I got a PS5, I got a PS2, I got emulators and different things like that. So I love. I'm a big gamer. But yeah, I mean, I think before videography, filmmaking was a hobby, and computers was the job. I think that's kind of switched now. So computers has now kind of become a hobby. I still stay on top of my upgrades, so I can do the modern gaming, keep up with the modern gaming. You got to keep up with your upgrades,
yes.
right? So so I'm still a technology enthusiast. I'm a big nerd, I'm a huge Marvel fan, Star Wars fan. I collect a lot of nerdy things. I also avid fan of darts and pool and poker.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. How about you?
All right. Well, very similar as we touched on video games. Been playing video games since the days of NES and the Atari before that. I don't get much time anymore. I still enjoy it, and I've got a bunch of consoles too, but I just don't have the time to play anymore. Outside of video games, I never really fit the mold sort of as a geek or a nerd, although I am, but I do like comics as well too, like Star Wars and Star Wars, Star Trek, and all the Marvel, all that sort of thing. But in addition to that, I'm a huge snowmobiler. I've been snowmobiling for a long time. This winter was terrible, not much snow. Everyone knows that. Some people like that, but outside of that, I golf. I don't know why, because I'm terrible at it, but I should quit. But I do enjoy it when I get out there. Normally I enjoy it as I'm finishing. Other than that, I study martial arts. I've been taking karate now for about 12 and a half years consecutively now. The biggest thing I do right now is chess. I'm a huge fan of chess.
Oh, I love chess.
I play a lot of chess, so there we go.
Yeah.
Should have games sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to another one here, which is a big one for me that, and we're both going to discuss that. Microsoft versus Apple. And what are your thoughts on that? And which do you prefer, and for what reasons?
Well, back when I was doing IT consistently, I get that question a lot. Like, what do you prefer, PC or Mac? And now obviously there's the sort of rivalry between Android and iPhone. Yeah. What I used to say all the time, my sort of mantra was, there's pros and cons to each. I think with PC, it's got the leg up in terms of compatibility. You don't really have to concern yourself too much about what's going to work or hardware or software wise with your PC. But there is a bit of maintenance involved. You have to kind of stay on top. But I mean that's the price you pay, I think, for the compatibility.
Yes.
With Apple, it's the opposite, right? I mean, you may kind of struggle a little bit with having things be compatible with your system, but you don't really have to concern yourself too much about the maintenance. So there's a little bit of a trade-off. Personally, I would rather put in a little bit of maintenance so I can have that compatibility and just basically have it all. There's no real drawback there. And in terms of iPhone and Android, I am an Android fan. I have a technological background, so I kind of know the behind the scenes, but if that's something that doesn't really concern you, whatever. I mean, iPhone's fine.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's a big thing for me. My close friends who know me, it's always a big joke. I'm always bashing Apple, but it's probably not for the reasons you thought. It's pretty much for the reason that Dan said. Ever since I started working on computers, back in the 90s and the 2000s specifically, it was easier to work with Windows. You didn't have to worry about compatibility. You could make something work very easily. And if you wanted to expand the system, add some hardware into it, you could do it very easily or with a little bit of tweaking. You couldn't do that with the Apple system. Apple's got a very closed ecosystem. It works very well. Don't get me wrong, not like Apple because it doesn't work. It works very well. You just can't tinker with it. And that's fine for some people, but for those of us who want to tinker and want to do something different, or did in the past at one point, Windows was a better option. Same thing. I was happier and I was more content to put a little bit of maintenance into it to make things work the way I wanted to versus just doing what Apple wanted us to do. So, and the same thing with the phones, as you said too. I'm an Android lover as well. It's just easier. I can plug my Android phone into my PC and I can rip all my photos off very easily. It's not as simple with an iPhone. So, but again, the iPhones, they just work for people who just want a phone and just want it to work, and you don't care about what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
An iPhone is fine, I guess, as well. So that's the answer why I've always preferred Windows over Apple. I'll continue to bash Apple just because it's fun to do so. Why not?
Yeah, that's just kind of how us tech guys think.
Yeah, that's right. We've always got an opinion on something like that. So,
yeah.
Moving on from that, it's kind of related. Is there any hardware or software that you really dislike?
Hardware or software I really dislike?
Because it's more fun to talk about what we dislike than what we do like. So.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of true, right? Yeah, I'm kind of the same mindset as you, I think. I mean, I'm not an Apple fan. To be brutally honest, because like you say, I mean, I know what goes on behind the scenes. I have that tech background, and with Apple, it just, I don't know. But so I mean, you'll never see me own an Apple product of any sort. Yeah, I mean, back in the day when technology was a little more archaic, there were certain brands I really just really stayed away from. Nowadays, I mean, I don't know. Not so much. I mean, I don't want to disparage any one particular brand or anything like that too much, but Acer has been, I don't know, I've had a lot of bad luck with Acer personally, but I mean, you know, I guess it's all about experience and all that sort of thing. Right now, nowadays, I mean, we're getting into videography. I mean, now I'm like, you know, really kind of, you know, getting into the brands of that stuff as opposed to you know, Canon and Sony and Panasonic, as opposed to the computer stuff. Yeah, I think Dave may have mentioned in another video as well the drawbacks of Norton. I totally sympathize with that. From my experience, it's the same kind of thing. I used to tell a lot of my customers, like, you know, almost regardless of whatever they owned, running Norton 360 was like trying to tow a tank with a Prius. It's just, it's so bloated, and it just, you know, it doesn't help. It hinders. You know, they like to say Norton gets its tentacles into everything.
Yes.
And it really is kind of, so my personal thing, I would advise people stay away from Norton. Dave will tell you the same thing.
Check my other YouTube, it tells
yes,
that too.
Exactly. Yeah, McAfee is another one. I think you mentioned that as well in another video. Yeah, McAfee, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah. But yeah, you got to really be careful with your antivirus softwares. Usually whatever Windows comes with is good enough.
These days, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a few to add to it. Anyways, you talk about Acer and whatnot and Dell. I find a lot of the computers, well, all the brands have consumer models and they've got business grade models. So the higher tier, they're far better. I've never been a huge Acer fan, but their business grade computers are very, very good.
Really?
Their lower tier Aspires, not very good, but the TravelMate laptops are fantastic.
Really?
Come with a 2-year warranty, and their towers, the business grade towers, very good equipment.
Really?
Yeah. I actually, well, again, it's the same thing, whether it's Lenovo or Dell or HP or Acer, the consumer models are not that great at all. They come at a good price point, which is attractive, but the quality of them and durability isn't just there, really. That being said, I'm not an HP fan. For new HP computers, terrible for the warranty process. I find all the other companies are much easier to work with, not HP. Horrendous to work with.
Really?
So that's a huge turnoff for me. Probably my biggest hatred goes towards wireless printers, though. Wireless printers are terrible. Worst thing I've dealt with in 20 some years or whatever. Specifically the low end ones that don't have an LCD panel where you can manually enter the Wi-Fi password in. You have to use an app or something, or plug it in with the USB cable first and then convert it.
That sounds like a pain.
They're just a pain when it comes to that. So wireless printers, I love to bash on them. And software wise, yeah, I mean, other than the antivirus, which we've discussed, Norton, McAfee, that sort of thing, AVG, Avira, Outlook, Microsoft Office, I love Excel for sure, particularly. Love working in spreadsheets. But Outlook,
spoken like a true nerd.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. But Outlook, I curse it. It's prone to corruption. It's just very problematic. Yes, it's the whole suite is, it's a productivity suite, and it does well when it's integrated with everything else.
When it works, it works.
When it works, it works. But when Outlook doesn't work, it's just aggravating. Aside from that, you've got Adobe. Adobe's update service seems to take over at times and just will put everything to a crawl. For sure, you have to kill the update service. It doesn't need to be running all the time, sort of thing, and it'll drag your computer to a halt, sort of thing. Other than that, I think that's probably it. There's some other minor things or annoyances at times, but those are the big things there, really. Yeah, I think for sure. Other than Chrome and its multiple instances running all the time.
Oh yeah, what's up with that? Jeez.
Yeah.
Why, Google? Why does there need to be 10 instances of Chrome running in the background all the time? Is it really necessary? Taking up all our memory.
Exactly, that's right. I'm stubborn when it comes to certain things, but I use all this software regularly, so I see it happening so often, right? That it's just it's just irritating at times. So
you're bound to see a lot of the times where it is working well and it's not working well.
Absolutely.
As opposed to the end user, they may just see one or the other.
That's right, exactly.
You know,
That's
yeah.
right. You see both, and then you notice trends, and yeah, for sure, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Some people say I never have a problem with it, and that's great. That's awesome. But a lot of people do have a problem with that stuff. So
Yeah.
So when you see both sides, you get to make different opinions, or you get different opinions formed.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And I think I kind of have maybe sort of a different opinion of Adobe. I know what you mean by like a lot of stuff running in the background. Adobe Cloud, Creative Cloud, things like that running in the background is not fun. But I will say from a videographer standpoint, I mean, the software is just amazing. There's just so much you can do with it. And I personally, my personal experience, I really haven't had a little heck of a lot of trouble with it. I don't like the stuff running in the background. That's not necessary, but I mean, you know, like Premiere and things like that are just amazing for productivity for what I do.
It is. There's no denying that. I mean, we've used it. I've used it, seen it, and I know how powerful it is and how good it is. It is a fantastic program, but there's something with that update service in particular that gets stuck running when nothing else is running.
There.
And it's there, and it can really cause problems. So I think that's all we had for today. That was just a little quick get to know each other, and you know, just a little back and forth and have some fun. And again, I want to introduce Dan. And thank you very much, Dan, for coming on here. And you know, it was great. I really appreciate everything. And you set up and do this. You did this video for me here, so it's really appreciated. And thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming. And so again, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions for either of us, please leave a comment below, and we'll go from there. Until then, if you're having any problems, don't forget to restart and have a wonderful day.